Woke up late, charts on fire, red and green like a funeral pyre. Discord screaming LFG, but my portfolio's haunting me. Spiked my coffee with regret. Last night I longed to break out bet. Now I'm broke, not broken yet. Just one more pump, I won't forget. Buy high, die hodling. The 10 brain dopamine's controlling. Ride the whale or get wrecked clean. This crypto dream's a guillotine. Fake guru with 1,000 subs showed me coins in shady clubs. Promised moons, Lambos and jets. Now I'm left with JPEGs and debts. Scalped my soul in a 5-minute chart. Market dumped and it ripped my heart. But I'll reload, I'll play to win. Even if I lose it all again. Buy high, die hodling. Gas fees burn, but I keep rolling. Almost gone, greed's the king. This crypto dream's a punk rock thing. In the glass, risk it all, no brakes, full gas. Liquidation, call me sweet. Whisper, welcome to defeat. No stop loss, no regrets. Code and chaos, no safety nets. Satoshi's ghost in my DMs told me to ape again and again. Buy high, die hodling. Gas fees burn, but I keep rolling. If I crash, at least I tried. In this wild west of blockchain rights. I'll be trading till the lights go out. Charts are noise, but I live for the sound. One candle spike, and I'm back in town. Crypto's a fight, and I'm 10 toes down. Diamond hands with the crack in the glass. Risk it all, no brakes, full gas. But I'll reload, I play to win. Even if I lose it all again. Woke up late, charts on fire, red and green like a funeral pyre. Discord screaming LFG, but my portfolio's haunting me. Spiked my coffee with regret. Last night I longed to break out bet. Now I'm broke, not broken yet. Just one more pump, I won't forget. Buy high, die hodling. The 10 brain dopamine's controlling. Ride the whale or get wrecked clean. This crypto dream's a guillotine. Fake guru with 1,000 subs showed me coins in shady clubs. Promised moons, Lambos and jets. Now I'm left with JPEGs and debts. Scalped my soul in a 5-minute chart.
What's up, guys? How's it going? I hope you had an awesome day so far. Just gonna check my audio, make sure everything's good. And we're good. Okay, cool. All right. Who we got in the chat so far? We've got Coma. Sometimes I feel like you're at the lives before I am, man. We got Sterling. How you doing, Sterling? We got Grayson. Noah. How's it going, bro? Oh, Overcome. Barge Builders. What's up, bro? Making money? That's great. Hey, Gear, how you doing, man? Let's see. Bitcoin Bunker. Good afternoon from a cold, wet, and windy UK. It's cold here too. We had a blizzard here a couple days ago, and Canada's not a good place to be if you don't like the cold. First time I'm full USDT since I started accumulating in 2021. Oh, cool. Okay. Right on, man. I'm sick to my stomach. Oh, I wouldn't be too sick, man. Hopefully not like actually physically, and that you're just maybe worried about the price, but we can go through some of the stuff and maybe help you feel better a little bit. Sometimes you feel like the anxiety from the lack of knowing, right? If you know your key levels in the price action, then you know like which levels you actually need to start feeling sick about. Hopefully you're not holding a losing position, but yeah, we'll go through it together. Coma sub 30-minute internal SFP. Oh, let's take a peek at that. Let's see, sweep at this high. Yeah, that's not great. So that suggests that we could be coming down soon, but we'll see what happens. We got a lot of reasoning why we could still go up from here, and I'll explain why in a moment here. Alvin, good morning again. What's up? Yeah, the FOMO. I'm betting on buying in spot lower. Also started trading recently. Okay, I got you. It's good to start in a spot environment. It means you only can do like one-dimensional trades, so you can only really technically long. But knowing when people would prepare for a short or the price action to go down, it's really helpful as a spot trader because that's when you prepare for your sell, and then you just do a rebuy at your targets, right? All right, cool. Minus 23 without the wind. Jeepers. What do I know about cold? Bruh. Oh, Jesse. Okay. Well, you live in a colder spot. You're... Yeah, I gotcha. I thought Overcome was talking to me from the UK there. Or is it... Oh, no, it's Bitcoin Bunker. Sorry. Yeah, Bitcoin. Yeah. I think UK's got a little bit warmer weather than we do. But yeah, minus 23, man. We've had minus 30 here. But probably not as common as you. Ethereum SFP. All right, cool. Let's dive into it because we don't want the price action to run away from us. So just to quickly explain why I'm a little bit bullish if a specific scenario occurs. They have two scenarios that could occur that can make things go up from here. And if we zoom out, it explains the story a lot more like clearly. So here, we had gotten acceptance back inside. Let's go to the hourly. It's a little more transparent. So we got acceptance into the valley area during this moment right here. That's when during that moment, a lot of people would be bearish. We spoke about that yesterday. There was a couple of scenarios that could have occurred that could have helped us prepare for a reversal to kind of like save us. If we didn't get, we got the break of structure here instead of like the SFP sweep or bullish reversal off of the 50-day EMA. We never got our key level break. If anyone held the short since Monday, you'd be laughing right now because if you let risk to lose $100 on that setup, it would be up like 6,500 during this red candle here. Just ridiculous. So like you'll look for 1 to 2s, but that was like a 1 to 65. It's just nuts. A crazy front run opportunity. But yeah, here we have like two volume nodes inside of this like 60-day range that we're in right now. And right now we're fighting to try to get acceptance back inside of this key area of interest. So we got to treat this like their own two separate valley areas, right? Right here and here. So we're currently trying to build a double bottom posture after testing the point of control of this range right here to dictate a reversal back up to the valley area high. And it's not like this means we're going to be going to the moon or anything like that, but it does mean that we could have a reversal internally within this valley area back up to the valley area high. But there's like two really strong barriers that could prevent us from getting there, and I'll talk about that when we get into lower time frames. But yeah, those barriers are going to be what dictates our exit plan. So we're trying to get acceptance back inside this valley area right now through an ascending double bottom structure, which is a bullish kind of posture structure. Like this is an example of like a descending double bottom where we have this exact scenario happening right here, trying to occur again, right? The only thing that makes this a little bit different is that this is a descending double bottom. So we got our bullish change of character with our confirmation candle simultaneously, whereas we got a bullish change of character already And we're just trying to just build confidence in our setup through a proper pullback for our stop loss. And then we ran up to the value area high here, right? So we're trying to prepare for that same kind of scenario that occurred in the past. So let's dive into the lower time frame so I can show you what I'm looking for to try to get us that safe entry. But we could just as easily reverse here. So we have to make sure we wait for the proper structure before we make our entry. Otherwise, you could be jumping into a long and then it can break this lower low and we could be coming back down to this macro valley area low again. And we know that there's a decent amount of liquidity basically resting below this white trend line right here. Every time we have these lows and then a higher high, we got to visualize the order flow in the forms of like where the stop losses are, where the liquidation prices are. And we know that there's a decent amount of liquidity here. But we did create a decent amount along the way down as well. And I'll show you in a moment. So going into the lower time frames now. So let's get into the 15-minute time frame and what I'm kind of hoping for. So we broke this downtrending momentum right here, right? So this is the pace of the sellers, right? And we can see that the pace of the sellers have slowed down and the buyers are trying to take over now. We broke that trend line. These trend lines are great for psychology and when knowing to take some profits, right? So if you enter a short here and you have that break of structure, another break of structure, and then we finally break momentum and then have a change of character, anyone who's in an active short right now should be considering taking some off the table or closing their trades, depending on how close we are to their entry. What I'm hoping for, because we kind of had like an unsustainable pump here, is a little bit of a retrace after we got this change of character. This change of character was all right. We had, the thing is, it was like confirmed by a hairline. So not every exchange is going to show that as a bullish change of character. So I wanted to see a break here and we got a really solid break there. So on multiple charts, we should see that change of character. So that should grab a lot more trade participants' attention in preparing for a long. We did have a scenario here. Well, after we had that bullish change of character, when we started to retrace back a bit, especially when we broke this low and got below the VWAP, you could start pulling a fib from this low to this high, and this could have been a front run to this bullish move. So if we look at that fib pull from this low to this high, you see we got to the, oh my bad, let me just delete some of this noise. From this low here to this high, you see we got this 786 in the golden pocket area tapped. This is my favorite zone when preparing for reversals. And we built an ascending double bottom, which isn't always the cleanest kind of posture you look for when you're trying to jump into a long position. Most people want that descending one so you can have a bullish change of character and you can use that to dictate your entry. So yeah, that was the front run opportunity. We broke momentum internally here. And now we're kind of hoping for that pullback. So we came back down and we tested that volume shelf that we were just talking about. We're getting our double bottom posture. Now if we zoom in on like the 3-minute, now we could be getting this a little bit sooner right here. After just barely, we mitigate this supply issue right here. But we do have a supply issue right up here. So as soon as we get a close above here, we have to worry about the confluence of the supply, the momentum, the point of control, and the fact that this is also a golden pocket from this high to this low. So if we pull this from here to here, my two favorite key levels on the Fibonacci retracement tool, the 786 and the golden pocket, have a lot of confluence for rejection. So if we get in the long, we have to babysit the trade when we get up here. Because if we see any reversal structure, like a bearish change of character, then we should listen to the market and take some profits, maybe move our stop loss closer to break even, or close the trade entirely if we see that bearish change of character at these key levels. This is a lot of confidence for people to jump into a short, right? So you can get into a long, and then you can hedge your trade, which means trading, staying in your long and entering a short when you're in hedge mode. That's kind of a complicated subject for some people, so I could dive a little bit into it if you guys like, but yeah, hedge trading is when you're able to trade both directions simultaneously, but most people have their exchanges set up on one-way mode, so if you try to jump into a short, it'll close their long. So here it could be a good opportunity for a short if we get up there, but I'm kind of hoping for the break past it. And then our next key level that we have to watch out for as we start to target that valley area high up here at 93,000 basically would be the target for this double bottom. But the block that we just spoke about at 91,322, if that breaks, our next one's the 50-day EMA and the supply, and we have some order blocks here as well, and the 786. So another wave of confluence for shorts, and a potential exit plan for an existing long positions. So you got to watch out. And that price tag for any listeners and not viewers is at 92,200 basically. Okay, so that's kind of the game plan when preparing for the potential long. This is technically a spot where people could prepare for short, so we have to use market structure to dictate our entry here. All right, we just got the internal change of character on the 3-minute. That is a front run opportunity to go after this unclaimed high right here. So if we get a close above that, that's a confirmation for the double bottom's neckline acting as a form of support. So we'll see what happens. We could get an SFP and bring us right back down. We know we got a 30-minute internal SFP. So this lower time frame structure is going to really tell us the story of what to plan for next. What we got in the chat here? If we edge, what profits do we make? One goes up, the other goes down. Oh, if we hedge, sorry, I should have made that connection. So that I can't predict the future for the short, but I could tell you what kind of profits you can prepare for with the long if we have our target hit. The short is going to be defined based on the market structure and what kind of stop loss guard you get. But so here, this is our long scenario. We could use the internal strong low here as our stop loss guard, or you can give it a little bit more breathing room because the R&R is kind of there. But you also have to visualize what would the R&R be if we had a problem at our barrier, which is way down here, right? And that's like a 1-to-1. So you're at least securing some gains if there's an opposing scenario. But they'll not be as lucrative, obviously, if we went and hit up our target instead. So if you risk to lose $100 and we had our target hit, you would be making $300 before fees. The fees will be different depending on what exchange you get or whose affiliate link you might be using, because some people have good discounts. Like the one we've got, you can save 20% of fees. So here, yeah, this is kind of like if we hit our target scenario. Now, if we hedge, let's say you stay in your active long, but you're preparing for a short here. That's very situational. And then our barrier for the short would basically be where our neckline is here as we come back down to potentially test previous highs, right? And I could draw this in a million different ways because it all depends on what kind of structure we get. And where our entry would be on the confirmation, where our stop loss would be based on the strong high. So you might make up to $200, risking to lose $100. That would be ideal. But you might only make $100 if we have opposing structure at our barrier here. So it's a little bit high risk. Now, a lower risk scenario, if you like to sit on your hands and wait for the really good setups, is to just not, is to wait to see if we have a rejection here, right? If you don't like trading into a barrier and you don't know how to use market structure to dictate an early exit, then the other scenario is to see if this gets rejected and comes back down to the value area low, the more macro value area low, which is currently at 87,118. And when we are at or breach below that, you're going to have really great confluence for preparing for longs. So this is like the, see here, we have a really strong like valley area low from this 2-week range here, internally inside the 60-day range. And we have our 60-day range valley area low. We have a lot of liquidity stacked below here at 86,200 area. So around here, we could prepare for that liquidity being taken to help drive the price back up to the value area high. A lot of people would prefer for us to just come down and take this low at 80,614 because it's going to evolve the daily market structure to give us a much closer key level before swing traders would prefer this to happen, because our daily market structure key level would be much, much lower than where it's currently at for preparing for longs. Because right now our daily market structure suggests that we don't go bullish until we break above 107,400. But if we break this low first, then that key level rotates from 107,400 to what's currently at 97,582. And then we could have a 200-day EMA confluence break. And then from there, we can see us run back up to potentially all-time highs again. Let's see what happens. Or at least 100, yeah. Yeah. But our on-chain metrics conditions are the exact same from October 2023, which is just nuts. So a lot of people are exiting the market, and new people are entering the market and taking those funds, or that supply, sorry. So I am kind of in neutral mode right now until we confirm whether or not we're going to go up. I'm hoping that we get that bullish change character. If not, that bullish break of structure here. If not, and we get a reversal structure instead, then I'll still be happy. There's opportunities all over the place. If you're preparing for a short here because we just tapped into supply, then we can look at this as its own separate value area. We have a supply zone here that was mitigated. We tapped it a little bit into here. So we can pull a fixed range volume profile locally from here to where we currently are at. And we'll be at this local valley area high. So from here, you want to see a break of momentum, which already occurred, right? We lost that momentum, and we're coming up to potentially sweep this high or get a bearish flip, which is, think of it like a incomplete change of character where we don't take the high, but we come down and we take the neckline low. So we have a descending double top, and that descending double top's neckline is at 89,794. So if we close below that, then we have acceptance back inside of this value area, and we can get a rotation back down to the value area low. So that's the bearish case scenario. And I understand people are a lot more bearish than they are bullish right now because we've been in a downtrend, but a lot of bullish things have started to occur. So we're starting to get the story being told to us that we could be reversing soon. So we're getting there. So I'm hoping that we get one of those confirmations during this live so we can potentially jump in together, or you can watch me jump in and learn from it. Not financial advice. What we got in the chat? Hey, you've got Alex O Crypto in here. How you doing, man? Hope you're feeling better. I know you're not feeling too great. A lot of people are sick lately. I know Brian, one of our coaches, is sick too. Good morning, Paul. How you doing, man? Elizabeth Sunshine, looking for the bounce. Yeah, I'm looking for the bounce too. Let's see what we get. We have VWAP on our side, which is great. We have 15-minute market structure on our side. It's just the hourly and the hourly time frame is a little away from us, so this be a front run for the hourly. We didn't have any proper pullbacks during this drop, so our hourly key level is really high up here at 93,300. So we're kind of playing the internal game right now for the hourly time frame. So look between here and here, everything's internal right now in that area. So we did get the internal break of structure, so it's starting to, tell us a story that we could be coming back up. But yeah, we could fight the supply on the hourly and then come right back down like we spoke about before. So yeah, if we break above this, then our value area high target front runs that strong high, which is a smart thing to do when you're preparing for an exit plan. Is look at the higher time frames and use it to help dictate what kind of control you have within the internal structure. And internally on the 15-minute, we know we're starting to go bullish. So this just be coming up to either A, to retest this momentum. Tell us a story that we're going to be rejecting off the momentum coming down. And this momentum comes from the absolute bottom of this range from like 60 days, for 60 days here. It started on November 21st. That's crazy. Time flies when you're a trader sometimes. You think you're only trading this for a couple weeks, and it turns out you've been doing it for almost 3 months. The best opportunities were here. Like this was easy mode right here. And we're just kind of like tapping off those key levels off that same zone. So that's why using previous value area data can help prepare you for like really good reversals or setups. So here we got our break, but here's our key level here that if you're looking for a bullish case scenario, you don't technically want this to occur. And we close below this area, because then we could prepare for a short, and then this would be your key barriers that you'd watch out for. We got like a low time frame order block here, like a 3-minute order block. And for those of you who are new to what an order block is, just think of it like it's a 2-candle pattern that dictates that there could be residual orders there. So there could be some still buyers waiting there that didn't have all their orders filled. That's what kind of story that order blocks kind of tell us. So if we come down there, we got to watch it as a potential threat to our trade, and we could get a bounce and start coming back against us. There's confluence here too. We have the VWAP, we have the uptrending momentum, and we have a point of control here. So like it's all kind of stacking in the same kind of zone. So if you take a short, whether it be the 30-minute SFP that we just occurred, and maybe you're using the lower time frames to dictate the safety of that SFP, this is going to be your immediate threat. So both directions, we're going to have a barrier on both sides that will be right in our face that we have to kind of babysit the trade near. But yeah, this would come with the target of, let's see, if we jumped in on this short and use this high as our stop loss, you can either use the internal high here, which is less safe but more profits, or you can use the strong high here, which is more safe but less profits, and your target would be this value area low. And it's a 1 to 1.5. So unless you have a high win rate, I wouldn't recommend you taking that one, because it's you'd be risking to lose $100 to gain about like 148 before fees, depending on how the candle closes. Yeah, so you'd need to have a decent win rate to support that. Your goal with most setups is try to aim for that 1 to 2, but if you can also think about risk management in the Kelly factor style, which is high win rate allows you to have low R&R. So if you have like a win rate above like 60% is what I recommend before thinking about Kelly factor risk management, where you can aim for those 1-to-1s or higher, right? And hope that it evolves past the 1-to-1 target. But no matter what your win rate is, if you're only focusing on 1-to-2s or greater, then it's healthier for scaling your account, because then your wins will always outweigh your losses. As long as you don't jump into too many scenarios like this, where you have to worry about opposing threats that could bring it right back down against you. We know our liberal friends are sick in the That's funny. Hey, to the moon. What else we got in the chat here? We've got all to them. Okay, I thought you were talking about price action going to the moon. Morning from Townsville, Australia. New subscriber. Oh, thanks for subscribing, man. Appreciate it. Bitcoin looks like a double bottom or W bullish recovery. Exactly. Yeah, we were just talking about that. The bigger picture stuff, we are preparing for that that bullish break, for the break of this high to confirm that move up. But we did just tap into supply, so we have to be mindful of the fact that we could be coming down for us to rotate all the way back down to the value area low. But we have this pullback scenario where we could prepare for the bounce off the point of control and maybe front run a claim of this high for that double bottom to give us better R&R on the setup. Like this would be ideal. So rather than waiting for like the break here, having low time frame structure, giving us something like this, right? Maybe a 1 to 3.7, depending how it confirms. Hold this momentum. Maybe just tap the order block, get ready off the point control and VWAP. You can see we have a really strong volume node here. Lots of interest relative to this range. So here we can prepare for a potential bounce. Just like how you prepare for a potential exit plan if you take this as a short. If you short this, this is where you have to be very careful around. Let's see what we get. While we wait, and what we can do is we can set some alarms. So I'm going to set an alarm at this point of control for the scenario that we just spoke about. And then we can look at some altcoins for you guys. So we got our previous point of control here. I like to, whenever it's not previous, sorry, it's active. A good practice is to find out the age of the point of control. Time creates strength when it comes to value areas. This one's about like 1 day. So it's like a 1 day value area. So it's not very strong. It's a 1 day POC. And I'm going to set an alarm off of it. All right, so we got our break here, guys, coming in. 30 seconds left on the 3 minute. We'll find out. 25, 24. This is where patience pays here, because this could be internal change of character or it can be internal SFP. SFP dictates the target of this high right here. Change of character basically dictates a potential reversal. And then you look for any demand, which is right in our face, but we'll be closing into the demand so we can rotate to the bottom of it, right? And that bottom, it comes with the confluence of that point of control. All right, we kind of had a doji. That's a little upsetting, a little annoying, but we're coming down now. Let's see what happens. Getting there. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to set an alarm off this point of control because it's kind of being sluggish right now. So I'm going to choose my trigger point as only once. That would mean if the price action taps it, I'll get an alert. If you do once per bar close, you get an alert when a candle closes below it, which is helpful when you're trying to be alerted for changes to character or breaks of structure or key levels that you want to have price acceptance above or below. So right now we're going to do only once. Let's make it a sound that we're not going to jump from. Let's get the frog. All right, prepare your ears. One sec here. There we go. Okay. We'll create. All right. So we're waiting for frogs. All right, what assets would you guys like to look at while we're waiting on Bitcoin to paint us the picture that we need? Okay. What's this message here? Kyle, can we do an exercise of drawing a parallel on a week chart of Bitcoin on logarithmic view, linking it to the first two big lows? When I do that, the last 10 weeks, we already are below the bottom line. So yeah, no matter what, I would recommend everyone to be on logarithmic view. So that's a good suggestion. I like that message there, man. So logarithmic view, what it does is it makes it so that your candles are being adjusted based on the percentage-based moves and are not being squeezed just to try to fit on your screen. So the coordinates of your trend lines lie to you. So if you're not on logarithmic mode, all your trend lines are false. And if you switch to logarithmic mode, you'll know exactly what I mean. So you get false breaks, you get false information from ascending or descending coordinates. Horizontal coordinates will be fine, but yeah, all your descending trend lines will break. So you're talking about the weekly. My charts were really noisy when you start to zoom out. So in the weekly structure, we flipped bearish at basically the all-time high. We did an SFP. So that was the moment where we were told that we're going to be coming down to at least 107,000 during that moment. And we have a good key level right now at 74,593 on the weekly. So if we come back down here and we break that, things would be pretty, I wouldn't say mega bearish, but it wouldn't be a pretty picture because we'd basically created a massive head and shoulders. But the on-chain data suggests that if we were to go down, it'd be very, very doubtful that we would go below like 64,000 area. We'd already be in a state of capitulation, which means above 50% of the supply will be held at a loss if we get below like around like 68,000 kind of area, which is like bear market absolute bottom conditions. And if we go to the supply and profit and loss chart, I can show you evidence of that. So down here, the last time we were there was at around $16,000 when Bitcoin was at 16K. And that's when we, as a community, jumped into our cycle long, which is like a trade that you can only do maybe once every 4 years, but it's like the best, like safest trade opportunity that you can get in Bitcoin's history when we see the supply below 50%. And then you wait for like a daily change of character to kind of give yourself a safer entry. You could front run it, of course, like I did, not by much, by only about 24 hours. But it gave me a much better entry than those who waited for the daily change of character. And right now the supply is at about 76%, but at our low around the 80K, our supply at a profit was only about 65%. So the same conditions that we were in when Bitcoin was at $26,000. So our price tag is much higher, but our on-chain conditions are the same for when Bitcoin was at 26K. So if you think about that, that really tells you the story of how funds keep getting passed between new hands. So this is a very, very helpful tool to help keep you grounded when you're preparing for, you're buying your Bitcoin or selling your Bitcoin. So when the supply is at a profit of above like 90% or 95%, it's a good indicator to prepare to sell, but it's not the best indicator because just because supply is in a profit doesn't tell you the story of how much profits they're in. So you want to look at the Nupal chart alongside this to help kind of dictate the combined on-chain data to prepare for your exit plan. A really helpful free tool, because I was just looking at Glassnode. Yeah, they all sound the same. Glassnode is a paid indicator, unfortunately, but you can use CoinGlass, or is it, Chain Exposed. Sorry, I'm jumping all over the place here. Chainexposed.com. There's under the unrealized profits and loss section, you go to Nupal. This shows you what the relative, like the net unrealized profits and losses are. So when we get to like the above the 80 level, in combination to the supply being above like 95% in a profit, this has called the top perfectly every single cycle. This time around, we have a lot of manipulation going on because of we got institutions creating ginormous sell walls in the order books, preventing price action from breaching certain levels. They want to keep the price low so they can accumulate until they're ready to let it go, right? So our key level has kind of changed to prepare for some resistance. And that's at like the 0.75 level when you're looking at long-term holders. And I'm estimating that if we were to get a reversal and come back up to 0.75 level, that the price tag for Bitcoin will be around 150 to 160,000 before we start to prepare for some more manipulation to kind of drive the price back down. Or we might blast through that, and then we can prepare for our all-time high, top of the cycle, and then macro bear market would start from there. I know that we've gone down quite a bit since our current all-time high, but on-chain data suggests that we're in an evolving bull market and not the end of the actual bull market yet. It's pretty interesting stuff. So it's like Bitcoin's maturing, basically. Think of it that way. Okay, so here we come back down to that POC. All right, let's take a look at the chat. I hope that information has helped you out there, man. Okay, we got some requests to look at Solana, buy area for Jasmy, Cardano from Jason's channel, Pump and Arrow. Can we look at Link? Yeah, I should look at Link. I haven't looked at it in too long. I'm a big holder of Link. It's my second largest bag. So, yeah, I need to take a look at Link too. It's a good plan. Okay. Double top question mark from Beard Mac Mike. Yep, that's a descending double top that we have here. So we've got acceptance back inside this value area. So value area traders would look for a loss of momentum at a value area high and preferably a bearish change of character. But we can't always pick and choose what you get. This is a descending double top, which is pretty good. And then you start targeting the value area low. So if you're using the clairvoyant strategy from the course, you'd know that this is our current main threat right now. So if you jumped in on anything, then you're watching this like a hawk, just like we are when preparing for a potential bounce and reversal back up. Okay, let's get to that list that you guys got here. Let's see. Solana. Okay, I think Solana was the first request. Solana is a great, if you are trying to learn SFPs and you want to be an SFP trader, Solana will be one of your favorite assets for that. Okay, and we can tell that definitely Solana got punished again at 144. Insane. Okay, so Solana right now is at a very, very important key level. So I'll zoom out. I feel like I'm a broken record, but there might be some new viewers here, so I have to repeat myself, guys. So here we had a range that lasts for 252 days, and we use the value area high, the point of control, and the value area low of that value area to prepare for some key levels, to prepare for some setups, right? And right now, we're right back down to that value area low, where we can prepare for some of the best longs for Solana. The last time we got here, it was pretty transparent that we're going to go back up, right? We broke momentum, both like broad momentum and internal momentum. We got the double bottom posture, and we came back up. We'd be targeting the value area high, but we know based on previous price action that that point of control is insanely strong. I'd say, like, based on how we behaved around here, that most of the people that actually accumulated roughly around that point of control. So when we got up there, after we broke below it, those people that accumulated are likely exiting at like around break even or at a small loss. So when we get up here, again, oh, we got our frog going off. So we tapped our point of control so far, guys. So now we got to wait for a reversal structure, dive into lower time frame. It's like the 1 minute's a good way to start. 3 minutes a little safer. We don't have any proper pullbacks in the 3 minute yet, so we'd have to wait for it at least 9 minutes to see how price action forms. Because it'll take 3 minutes for one candle pullback, 3 more minutes for another candle pullback to get us a proper pullback, and then we'll see if the 9th minute will start reversal yet. Okay, go back to Solana. So Solana is at a key level where a lot of people should be preparing for longs. If we hold this 252-day value area low and we get a bullish change character, then we can start targeting 144 again in hopes that we break past it. We dipped past it before, grabbing the liquidity from these highs. We swept it as an SFP, which is basically Solana's favorite setup. They're really reliable, by the way, if you're doing SFP trades on Solana. The technical target for this SFP is the most recent proper pullback, which is on this time frame on the daily, way down here at 119,000. But if I were to take this SFP myself, then I would have been targeting the point of control where we had not a proper pullback, but definitely demand, right? So I'll be targeting around here, which is like 136. But now, yeah, we're down here. We need to wait for some bullish structure. It looks like we're starting to get that. Yeah, definitely. A bit of a Wyckoff model. So as Bitcoin's coming down to test its key level here, the VWAP, point of control, order block, uptrending momentum, Solana, relative to that, is testing its VWAP and previous highs, right? So it's kind of trying to tell us the same kind of story, that it wants to retest this for a continuation back up and take this unclaimed high and run our way back up to at least like around 135. And if we get it back above like 132, then we could have acceptance back inside of a 32-day value area from this range right here, right? And this range was very, very helpful for us the last time, and it can be this time as well, because when we were looking at the long scenario from the macro value area, the moment we got acceptance into this with a break of structure, we can extend our target to its value area high, which is also the macro point of control. So there's confluence there telling us that we can go down, and we can see that when we got there, we had a harsh rejection. I'm going to have to get rid of some of this noise so you can see. You had a harsh rejection that brought us right back down to basically the value area low, and then we came back up to try again. But when we tried again for our move up, what told us that we weren't going to go back up to the macro value high was the fact that we never got the proper break of structure. We failed to get that higher high, telling us the buyers were not in control, and sellers used the liquidity from up here as sell side liquidity for their exit plan, which most likely was market makers. Market makers look at large pools of liquidity to allow them to exit with the least amount of slippage or price impact. So they get out around here, and then retail helps drive the price down a little further. They might induce a change of character or a break of a key level to kind of drive retail to participate and bring the price down for them. So they kind of use retail behavior as a tool to kind of drive price where they need it to be. And this is a good spot for where they would need it to be. So yeah, basically Solana is got a little bit of relative strength during this pump, but now it's come back to kind of clinging to Bitcoin's price action. So Bitcoin's going to help dictate whether or not Solana is going to be able to take this unclaimed high based on how it performs around here. And right now it's not looking good. We broke below that point of control. We're below the VWAP. We tested that POC within this active 3-minute candle. And the only thing that we really got left is some potential residual orders in this order block, but we're close to the equilibrium point. So a majority of them, if there are any left, are being mitigated. So we need to have that reversal structure pretty much now. Like we need to start seeing it being built now. Otherwise, Solana is likely going to break past this and come right back down to 126.76. I hope that helps you out, man. I know there's a lot. I just want to make sure you get proper information so you don't jump into anything unsafe. We might get a tweezer reaction. A tweezer reaction is when you see like a flat bottom of support or resistance like this with 2 candles. And then you, if it closes like this is called a tweezer reaction. It tells you a story that there might be a buy wall here in the order books in the form of limit orders. If we engulf, that's pretty bullish. Engulfing means we need to have this candle close back above this previous red candle. It's a good reversal indicator. And some people actually only trade off tweezers and part of their rules. Here's a bearish tweezer example. So we had one right here, and it kind of helped induce this pullback. Oh, what's 1 minute look like? Oh, really crunched. Yeah, normally you go to the lower time frames like this to, avoid this kind of crunchy price action to kind of see the flow a lot more clearly. There's a battle going on right now. So if anyone who took this short that we were talking about here to bring us down to this area, you should be taking some profits. You don't have to completely close your trade because we're still below that point of control. And if we get that break of structure and lose this momentum, we're definitely coming down to like 188,600. Andrew, I was changing my diaper. I did hear 144. Yeah, I'm not going to say that out loud in case people have turn their stomach. Okay, so what we're kind of looking for right now, what I prefer in terms of structure to define this as support, like we could go straight up from here, but a part of my rules when I'm looking for a certain specific structure for when I want to enter a trade is I need to have that pullback and then change character, and then that would front run the potential claim of this previous high. And then if we break that high, then awesome, we can extend our target for our trade. So active stop loss area will be roughly around here so far, and we're still waiting on our entry, and we'll find out what our risk reward ratio is, at least to this high here. And then if we close above here, then we can extend our target to our point of control up here. Getting there. Patience pays. Sometimes patience takes away opportunities. Sometimes patience will save you from a rough loss. But all your losses should be equal if you're doing proper risk management. Same value, either percentage-wise or fixed. Okay, so now we need a pullback soon. Yeah, I want to be able to set a key alert for preparing for an entry, but yeah, we need a pullback soon. So I can use that unclaimed internal high as an alert system. Okay. So Jasmy was a request. We do have a Jasmy chart. We used to trade it often. Not so much anymore. Last time we looked at it was January 12th. What we were looking at, January 12th, we were looking at this valley area and waiting for a bounce, but we were cautious about the point of control and volume shelf on Jasmy at like 0.00899. So it ended up driving the price down. So basically your exit warning telling you to get out based on structure would have been equal with your entry. Oh no, it wouldn't have. So yeah, your entry would have been on the break of this key level here. That's rough. And then we were hoping for an exit plan around this value area high. But now going to the active price action, we can start updating this data. So here we can update this fixed range volume profile pull to here. This will be helpful for us if price action returns back up. We can move this back up here. It's a previous value area low. So this is going to act like a barrier for anyone who's potentially going to be jumping into longs. It's an 8-day value area low. So going to zoom out on the bigger picture stuff for Jasmy, because I know it lost a big key. Yeah, big key level. Thanks to that October 10th crash. So yeah, Jasmy's key level that we never really wanted to see it break was around like 0.0085. This is kind of like, this was supply in the past, and it became a key area of interest to watch out for support. Now we used it as resistance, right? So we have to watch it like a hawk along our way back up. So the good thing about Jasmy so far is we did break this bearish momentum, and we're kind of coming back down to test it. The main thing you want to watch, though, is not how we behave on the trend line. It's how we behave on previous highs or demand. So we kind of breached these previous highs, right? We had a decent bounce off it initially a couple days ago, but then yesterday we closed back below it. So that's pretty darn bearish, and it can cause us to rotate to the bottom of it and continue down in the macro picture. But we can look at the low time frames to see what kind of story it's telling us, to see if we can prevent something like that from occurring. So I don't like that it's below the 50-day EMA, because that's going to be a barrier along the way, just like how it is for Bitcoin right now. We do have this ascending double bottom posture, and we can see fractalization of double bottoms within it, telling us that there's accumulation going on for sure. We got this descending double bottom, and we have this ascending double bottom internally within it, and then we have this here. So it's kind of trying to do the same thing Bitcoin is doing. What Bitcoin is right now, yeah, we're about to find out very, very shortly with Bitcoin. What I like about what just happened with Bitcoin, though, we did have that drop. We can mark our new alerts level here. So I'm setting another alarm here in case we get that reversal structure that we're begging for right now. We're very close. All right, create. All right, I got my alarm set for that, so we don't miss it on that while I'm talking about Jasmy. So Jasmy right now just hit this supply right here. So whenever you see an impulse move down, and then a base of structure, and then another impulse move down, you want to mark that as a zone of interest to prepare for shorts. This is a form of supply. So we mark this like a box right here, and then this entire box is going to be an area where you prepare to take profits when you're in longs, or prepare for a new short. So we can change this template. to red. And because we had a supply here, a bullish change of character, and we have a couple flips as well, we can actually pull a fixed range volume profile here. You can see that we have a little blocky because the liquidity doesn't look great on Binance for Jasmy. But yeah, it's also coming down to test this point of control in hopes that it comes up to reclaim this higher high. This is a good scenario because if when you're preparing for longs, you want to have this pullback for your stop loss guard when we break this high. Now with Jasmy, you can, but I don't really suggest with Jasmy's candles here to try to front run anything. Like the candles are a little bit sketchy and unreliable. It might be a change of character here, but it might not be somewhere else. So if we bounce here and we break this high, we have that internal change of character, then yeah, you gotta be super cautious. So yep, Jasmy is trying to tell a story that we might begin a reversal. If you're looking for a buy level on Jasmy right now, and that's all you're kind of asking for, like that level kind of came and went. It was right here. Then from this previous value area high, and we had this demand zone that we tapped into. We mitigated a lot of it from that October 10th crash, but we honored it despite that crash and sweeping liquidity the last time we came around. So trade participants still used it as a key level to prepare for longs. So if you're patient, I'd recommend maybe waiting around like 0.006 for potential spot buy on it. But that low time frame structure could front run that level. And we're about to find that out soon. Probably today. Oh boy. Okay, we broke below. So we don't have the confluence backing anymore for this long. We're likely going to come right down to this value area low now instead. I'm going to delete this. Delete this. So anyone who's in this short, like this is continuation structure. When we came up, you got that lower low, break a structure. This told you to hold your trade once this candle closed. The second that candle closed, it said don't get out. But if this came up and broke this key level, then that would tell you to GTFO and then wait for the next setup kind of thing. The good news about this is that we now have a better R&R scenario for longs down here. And this is the kind of trades I prefer to take anyways. At the bottom of ranges, jumping in those longs instead of trying to get the trend base set up. There's a lot of key barriers in your face. So the pros and cons to what just happened. Coming down to a 3-minute order block at the value low. It'll probably induce bounce, but nothing special. Now, if you're jumped in on a short and you're trying to hold this trade, what kind of posture you want to be careful about is like I said before, like a bullish change of character. Be careful, but at value area lows, if you see something like a breach below, a retest to the value area low, and then a lower low, that tells you a story that we could be leaving that value area and having a trend base setup, just like what we were hoping for right here, the opposite, right? Retest and higher high. But we never got that higher high. Let me delete this. This was mitigated. We can technically rotate it to here. There we go. So our 1 day value area low is at 88,600. A deviation below this is still bullish, so long as you don't test it as resistance and get a lower low. Like this scenario right here to our left. And this scenario right here as well. All the scenarios will be to our left. Right? So we came down. It may have seemed like we came down and tested it, right? But we never got that lower low taken. Right? In this scenario, we never even tested, we never had that pullback to even be concerned about this low being taken. So if you like to modify your own Fibonacci tool for deviations of a value area, here's a good tip. So if we get your Fibonacci retracement tool, you pull it from the value area high level to the value area low, like this. And then you can modify your settings like this to tell you percentage-based deviation levels and the 25% deviation and the 50% deviation of a value area. Those are the two best levels to prepare for reversals from a value area. So we can see here, we have lots of examples right in front of our face, right? We have here when the value area was young, we actually had to pull, I could do an updated value area to give us more honest information. Oh, it still worked out. Okay. So this yellow line right here you're seeing on my screen represents the past and how the value area has changed. Okay. And we can see here we were below the value area low and we deviated below it by about 25 to 50%. Right? 50% and 25 levels are the great ones to prepare for potential longs. You still need to wait for structure to dictate your entry, but it's a good way to prepare yourself for via like an alert. You can use a horizontal array to alert yourself for when the best opportunities are about to occur. We just had it reach the 25% level up here before we came down and crashed like we just did. And the last time we were here, we bounced off the 25% level. And we're really close to that 25% deviation right now in confluence with this uptrending momentum. So we'll see what happens. Okay. All right, what we got in the chat here, guys? Thanks, man. No problem. Okay, next request was, we had a request to look at Cardano. Bitcoin's still going down. It could be a good time to look at the buy walls. You can go on CoinGlass and look at their order books. It'll tell you what limit orders are being placed right now. If there are buyers waiting at certain levels. And we do have some buyers waiting mostly at 85,920. So there's about 6,800 Bitcoin that need to be bought before we get there in total. But as a collective, it looks like there's about, just in that one spot alone, about 500 Bitcoin in one spot alone. 85,900. That's pretty far down below us. So most of the buyers' interest is right about here in this 3-minute order block. So I did a poll at the beginning to see what everyone else was thinking, whether it be bullish or bearish, and 62% of us was bullish. It might have been my thumbnail that might have manipulated your thoughts on that. Not my thumbnail, sorry, my title. But all we were lacking was just the one confirmation for that long, when instead we got the internal change of character and came down. That's why patience pays, guys. You're jumping into a long before it confirms. It's better to have some of your profits taken away for that extra security, right? And just because it's at a higher price when you enter doesn't mean you're not going to be making more money. Your stop loss dictates how much money you should be making, because your gains are going to be relative to your risk. So if you're trading with $1,000 account, for example, you should only be risking to lose $10 to gain $20 or more. But sometimes you have those really tight stop losses that give you really good R&R, so that $10 can turn into 40 pretty quickly. We're getting that potential SFP here. The SFP technical target is unrealistic right now. It's way up here. So this area right here is a good area to mark as supply concern now. There's trap buyers here. We can delete this. We can add this block zone. We delete this because I think our change of character key level is definitely going to rotate lower. Okay, let's look at the next request. We said Cardano, right? So we got ADA. And we'll look at Chainlink next because I'm curious about Chainlink. I'm playing with house money right now with Chainlink. So I took my seed investment out at $30. Yeah, with Cardano, the last thing we were looking at was acceptance into this valley area around December, it seems. Oh no, that was just a trade setup that we're looking at. But again, yeah, once you get acceptance to the valley area, you target the opposite side of the valley area. And that was a really good example here with Cardano. But now we're kind of back at that valley area low. So this data is going to help us prepare for potential longs. So we deviate a little bit below it. And we can see that it also tried to double bottom after breaking down trending momentum at the valley area low here. Its positioning was actually more bullish than Bitcoin, in my opinion. Like being at a valley area low and having the double bottom. And Bitcoin was, if we zoom out on Bitcoin, right, we front run its more macro valley area low, which is at like $87,000. So coming down to test this would be really, really healthy for Bitcoin at 87K. But now, if we think about Cardano's positioning, because it failed that double bottom to recover back inside that valley area, it could get punished pretty bad. The alts have been punished in general a lot lately. So I'd mark your wick level lows on Cardano. Now I don't think I've ever SFP traded on Cardano before. It's a really good trend-based trading asset. So if you're a trend trader, you should look at Cardano as a potential asset to keep an eye out on for setups. Because when it does its trends, they usually last like 30 plus days. Okay. We can keep this here. Yeah, we had local resistance level here drawn. It was based on previous price action, so it's coincidental. So yeah, for Cardano, we could prepare for a sweep of this low and return back up from an SFP. We need to have a 2-candle pullback to generate a realistic target for that SFP if we get it. An SFP, for those of you who don't know, think of it like a single candle pattern where we come down, we sweep a previous wick like this, but that candle needs to close above that wick level low. And then you target the most recent 2-candle pullback, which right now is way up here at like 36 cents, 36.40. But right now we're pumping back up. So this could be the first of 2 candles to dictate a better target for an SFP. Something more realistic. I want to zoom out, bigger picture here. A big double top at the 50-day EMA. We got, for Cardano, we had that price acceptance inside this valley area here when we had this test, pull back, and then higher high. And we target the valley area high, but that 50-day EMA was the big barrier alongside the point control confluence. So it kind of failed to reach that 44-cent key level there. I know a lot of people were targeting here around 45.70, but that 50-day EMA said, nah, bro, it didn't want to go there. I got to clean up this chart a little bit. I could do that later, not in your time. I'll do it my time later. We got our downtrending momentum. This is the pace of the sellers since we started crashing at the 50-day EMA at 42 cents. So you'd watch this and see if there's any buy walls in the order books, or sell walls, sorry, in the order books. If there are sellers waiting here in the form of limit orders. If there are, then that trend line is likely going to be respected, especially if there's confluence. So don't trust the trend line blindly. Make sure there's data backing it. We got a 12-minute SFP, 15-minute tweezer. So yeah, right now we're looking for a reversal structure. We're at a spot right now, based on this previous range right here. We have that deviation below. We can see that we had a crazy drop down below. We had it retested here and got that lower low, and it kind of plummeted towards this 96-day value area low. So a strong key level for accumulation for Cardano is at 32.54. So at that area, if you're a spot buyer, you can wait for a reversal structure there, and it'll be a good spot to prepare to accumulate. But Cardano, like development-wise, you gotta be careful with it because they're not really doing that much progression. So I'm worried that with Cardano, that like one day, maybe not this year or next year, maybe like 3 or 4 years down the road, if they're not doing any development to combat the market share absorption from its competitors, like Solana, for example, that it might become a zombie token. Like a zombie token is basically an asset that all it has left to keep it going is its decentralized liquidity. And then it becomes the people's token basically from there. So yeah, here basically prepare for a reversal structure because we're at a good spot for that in terms of positioning off of previous value areas. If we get that reversal structure, its value area high is way at 37.89. So nothing clear right now that I can tell you to prepare for other than these SFP sweeps. Right now we're just testing this downtrending momentum. Okay. Bitcoin. All right, we're below that value area. I like to see tests like this here. So we'll see if we get that reversal structure. We can get a 2-minute change character and start targeting the VWAP. We got a VWAP deviation. We got a SFP. Let me take a look and see if our automated system has gave us an alert. No, I gotta, let's see. I gotta keep an eye on that just make sure it's working. What did I name that? Let's go to SFP. Let's go to the backtesting chart. Right now I'm looking to see if all the rules are being met for a strategy that we built together as a community. No, okay. We could, depending on how it develops, like a really good forms of confluence. I recommend writing this down. So if we get an SFP and confluence of being below the tapping the 2.2 VWAP, right? And confluence of being below the 30 level on the MFI, that confluence comes with like a 59% win rate of hitting an SFP technical target on the 15-minute time frame. Right now we need to have, I'd recommend waiting for our 2-candle pullback in 15 if that were to occur, a sweep here. But yeah, a lot would ride on the MFI coming down a lot lower. Lots of time on that. So we have good positioning right now to prepare for longs. Except our target would be definitely different than it was before, right? Our target now would be based on the value area data that we have. So we'd be targeting this value area high here at 90,000 and being very careful around the point of control, supply confluence, order block confluence, and currently the VWAP, but the VWAP might catch up by the time we get a confirmation. I prefer to have VWAP on our side because VWAP is king sometimes. It's being used as a form of support and resistance all the time. So if we get a deviation here and we get that confirmation that we're going to reverse, we just have to watch the VWAP as currently our key barrier. Okay, what was the next request? Jasmy, buyer, Cardano, pump, arrow, link. Yeah, let's look at link. Yeah, link felt like a guarantee when we bought it at $7. Whenever something feels a lot more secure, I'm all for it. This cycle is a lot more careful than I was last cycle when it came to altcoin accumulation. And Chainlink right now, Chainlink's an amazing range trading asset. So if you're a range trader, I would recommend keeping an eye on Chainlink. It loves valley areas. It loves to range. Its ranges last like 30 to 90 days constantly. I know Bitcoin's been ranging a lot more too lately. It's become like a range trader's asset. But yeah, Chainlink is a really, really good one, and it respects its levels extremely well. Yeah, my next limit sell orders for 50% of my bag is at like $26. Chainlink inflates by 7% per year, which sounds like a lot, but for crypto, that's nothing in comparison to some of them out there. So you just got to keep an eye out on assets that have that kind of tokenomic structure. If it inflates too much, it will never, ever, ever reach its all-time high again. You can look at examples like Uniswap or PancakeSwap and how their native tokens create a bunch of supply in order to issue out rewards. So you keep an eye on their burning dates for longs, but macro, you shouldn't be holding those types of assets long-term. So make sure you know the tokenomics of the asset you purchase if you want to hold them long term. Okay, so just deleting some of the old data that we don't need anymore. Looks like we're preparing for a short up here. Yeah. We got two key SFP wick level lows that we're approaching. One's at 11.99, one's at 11.74. Right now we're at $12.03, so we're really close to that 11.74, or sorry, that 11.99 level. So we could get a sweep here. And if we do, then I'd be targeting. Let me zoom in on lower time frames. Yeah, I'll be targeting around 12.46 for any SFPs that we have here. It looks like it tried to also do a double bottom structure, but it had its warning sign was in an internal SFP, whereas Bitcoin's warning sign that we weren't going to go up higher was this internal change of character or bearish flip. Yeah, we're coming down. Yeah, it looks like we just tested that value area low as resistance, got that break of structure, telling us that we're going to be coming down lower. This was the indication to tell you to hold your shorts. Next key level. And we could get a higher time frame SFP off of 87,785, but I think we're more likely just to come right down to 87,000 because we have that our macro value area low key levels there. It's a big fat magnet right now. Going back to the link, sorry. Chainlink, where are we positioned at? So this is a range. How old is this range? This range is 14 days. So yeah, it's credible. So we have to mark that. It's a 14 plus day range. We should mark our point of control. If we prepare for any longs, these are going to be key levels you got to watch out for. And then we have our value area high here. Marking your dates of your value area. It doesn't just help you understand the strength of the value area lows or the point of control, but also kind of gives you a visual representation of like what to prepare for when you do jump into trades. So if we have like a acceptance to this value area, for example, you know that this is going to be a key area up here at the value area high to prepare for your exit plan. So we'd have to use lower time frames because we have a lot of fast-paced moves. If you try to dictate anything by the hourly, the candles are too large to give you any like chalk levels to watch. So you have to go into lower time frames here. You can use the 15-minute depending on how we behave. We did just sweep that low that we just spoke about at 11.99. So here, that liquidity that was just taken could help induce a reversal if it was used as entry liquidity. So here we can prepare for a retest potentially of the previous value low, acceptance into that value area, and then a rotation back up to 1262 while being super careful around here. Did that get mitigated? I'm not sure why it's not marked. I have an indicator that marks, oh, okay, there it is. Okay. There's definitely a bearish order block here. So this would be your TP1 zone when preparing for longs. So pathing that I would prefer to have happen here is something like this. Enter long, then target the value area high while being super cautious at this point of control with 30-minute order block confluence at $12.40. And the next area of caution would be this lower high here, or unclaimed high. At 12.55. So watching out here, we can leave this pathing here for next time we review Chainlink together. This is what you'd be looking for. It seems to have some relative strength to Bitcoin's drop. Like a lot of the alts are probably getting punished a lot more than Chainlink. Chainlink has a ton of Bitcoin pairing liquidity. So when Bitcoin moves, Chainlink tends to move unless Chainlink has some relative strength from like a news event. Right? So most of the time, Chainlink moves alongside Bitcoin. And we got good confluence here of a 91-day previous value area high and liquidity levels from previous wicks from the past to help induce reversal, and in confluence with us deviating a little bit away from its local value area looks like about by 25%. So we get our Fibonacci tool right here from the value area high to this value area low. Yeah, we're about 30% away deviated from that value area. So it's a good spot to prepare for potential longs if we get the structure. Okay, Bitcoin still chilling. What do we got left to look at? Is what collapsing? Well, this is healthy. Yeah, this pullback's healthy. Don't let it scare you out of your portfolio. I haven't touched my Bitcoin. It looks like it's suicide because we're looking at like the 2-minute time frame right now, guys. Like relative to like the daily, it's not too bad. Right? We're still in this macro range that we've been in for like 60 days. And 10% might seem like a lot to a lot of people, though. I guess I've been so numb to it. I've been trading Bitcoin since late 2018 or early 2019. So I'm used to seeing flash crashes that give you these in a single I've seen 10-minute crashes in a single hourly candle with Bitcoin, so I'm kind of conditioned for it. Okay, what do we have for requests? Is it going for closing the CME gap? Yeah, I could fill the CME gap. doesn't have to fill the CME gap. We still have CME gaps down at $8,000. But yeah, as time passes, it's less and less likely that we're going to fill it. But yeah, October 10th crashes. That was a doozy. That was a good one. What we got? Pump and arrow were requests. So we can take a peek at them. I'm not sure if we have a pump chart yet. I've been asked to look at pump so many times. I think I should make one. Pump USDT. Spot. We'll go to Binance chart. How's pump doing? Still not pumping, eh? Oh my god. Everything's internal right now. Okay. So pump, good news on pump is that we broke its downtrending momentum since it's been listed on Binance's chart. It's been in this downtrend for 113 days before like confirming like a reversal on maybe like the 4-hour time frame. It wasn't on the daily yet. Yeah, 4-hour time frame we confirmed a reversal down at like 0.002. When we had this bullish change of character and we completely mitigated that supply issue. We came back down to retest it in confluence with that momentum. So it's starting to flip bullish and go into more of a macro uptrend. So pump is finally pumping. We got uptrending momentum here. It's a little bit more broad. We have some negative space right now away from that momentum. So prepare for a potential retest. We've flipped bearish on the 4-hour. When the moment we lost that 50-day EMA, we also had the confluence of a bearish change of character. So this was a good key level to watch, because if it was broken, then you'd be looking at support confluence for when it might start to like bounce and reverse. But right now it's still kind of losing against that 50-day EMA. We retested it. So a good level to watch right now for pump is a liquidity sweep off of like 0.002247. I'm sorry, it's a long number. And we can mark this wick level high. We have a bearish order block up here. I gotta get that magnet tool turned off so I can draw it properly for you. And our internal key level right now is right here. We need to have a candle close above. A candle close above this will come with the confluence of getting back above the 50-day EMA. All right. This would be a better key level if we swept this low first, or even close below it, because then we get a bullish change of character after a test of that uptrending momentum. And we start coming back up to try to fight to get a higher high off of that unclaimed high right here. The unclaimed high is at 0.00314, sorry. So yeah, there's an SFP scenario here with the confluence of the momentum, or potentially a bullish change of character here after we close below here, depending on what kind of posture we get. Yeah, right now, as it stands, this is our key level that we now have broken. But we are losing a battle against that 50-day EMA. If we go with the 15-minute time frame, it'll tell us the story a bit more clearly. Yeah, we got a bit of a descending broadening wedge. Right? The story of a descending broadening wedge, like what's happening in the background, is the confidence is low to start when it's descending like this. Ascending ones are different. If you look at assets like Crypto.com's token, CRO, they have a massive ascending broadening wedge that you can look at for a really good example. Like big picture stuff though. You got to zoom out on the daily. But yeah, the story of a descending one is that confidence is low. It's likely because we're testing the neckline of this double bottom and we're going after this 50-day EMA. So volume's kind of slow. And then we get that bearish change of character. That was an indication that we're likely to come down because we're losing against that 50-day EMA. Like bearish are still in control. And then confidence starts to come back up. So volume picks up a bit. So the thing is, though, they can be a bit violent when it comes to coming back down to the lows of the uptrend momentum. So I would prepare for a potential faster paced move very soon if we lose this local low at 0.002451. And we have some order blocks that could hold us up, but yeah, prepare for a faster paced drop, maybe down to that wick level that we were talking about at 0.002247. So if I were to draw pathing and to actually draw these trend lines a little bit more properly instead of using the brush tool, this is what I would expect the behavior to be for this asset right now. And get our pathing tool. Maybe a little bit of a bounce here, test the VWAP again. A little bounce here from the order block. Break of this low. And then fall down to here. Prepare for reversal. Okay, so that's what I'll be looking at for. And then this will be a good key level to watch along the way. But this was the best moment right here to get in on the short. You'd enter when the candle closed below it. It's a double top. Stop loss above here. We have this in the course too. How to trade the different types of double tops, because we have ascending ones, descending ones. I don't really like taking the descending ones. These are my ideal scenario because then market structure also agrees. So you have more trade participants jumping in on that setup. All right, let's go back to Bitcoin. See how it's doing. We're almost at 875, eh? I'm getting there. It's not looking great. Now I'm super eager now for long structure because we keep getting denied the long structure that we want. Only like the internal, short-term stuff, but nothing like the longer-term swing kind of setups that I like to take. Okay, guys, I do gotta head out. Thanks you so much for jumping in on this live. Yeah, liking and subscribing and sharing has been helping us grow. So I appreciate all you guys for doing that. If you need any help with anything, I'm one message away in the Discord. Just please, please, please make sure that you triple check my handle. I have my handle down below in the description of the YouTube video that you're watching right now. You might get messaged by an impersonator, right? There's a lot of influencers. I'm not considering myself an influencer, but there's a lot of people who are on YouTube or have some exposure that have a lot of impersonators that are trying to steal money from you. So just please be careful about that. Just triple check my handle if you're trying to reach out to me. But yeah, tomorrow we have a live again at 10:30 a.m. Hopefully we get a trade set up together that I can jump in on. I didn't jump in on any of the suggestions that I said here. I would share my exchange chart if I did. I was only just explaining what we were preparing for based on the market structure that was giving us. But right now I am preparing for longs because that's all we really can prepare for right now. Our short scenario setup was up here when we had this bearish flip at this value area high. We're really hopeful for the higher high claim, all right, or a bounce off of this point of control, but we never got the confirmation. We never got the bullish change of character that we really wanted to have, or that breakish structure continuation at the value area high that we really wanted to have. But it did tell us a story telling us that we shouldn't be jumping in on longs, right? So just listen to the market conditions. As you get better and better as a trader, you'll be able to identify this stuff to know, like, okay, now is not the appropriate time to long. Now is the time to potentially enter a short or just to sit on our hands and wait, right? So right now, if you're not in an active short, you are sitting on your hands waiting for the long structure, right? And we are coming down to good, really strong confluences for longs very soon. We have that 56-day valley area low. Now, valley areas are not going to give you pinpoint locations, so you have to just wait for structure at or either right on top of them or right below them, right? And then, or we can look at order blocks and previous points of controls as well to help dictate entries too. So we got a little bit of time that we have before we start getting that structure, because we haven't had any proper pullbacks along the way down, at least not in the 5 minute or the 15 minute. We kind of just went straight down a bit here. All right, guys, have yourself an amazing day. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.